The Mitsubishi A6M0 was the most feared naval fighter of the early Second World War and became a symbol of Japanese air power across the Pacific. Designed for extreme range and agility, the Zero could outmaneuver almost any Allied aircraft it encountered during the opening years of the war. Its lightweight construction allowed it to dominate dogfights, especially against heavier American fighters. Armed with two 20mm cannons and two machine guns, the Zero delivered devastating firepower from Japanese aircraft carriers during attacks such as Pearl Harbor and the early Pacific campaigns. However, this light design came at a cost. Lack of armor and self-sealing fuel tanks made it extremely vulnerable once Allied pilots learned its weaknesses. By 1943, improved American tactics and newer fighters gradually neutralized the Zero's dominance. The Grumman F6F Hellcat was built specifically to destroy the Zero, and it succeeded. Introduced in 1943, the Hellcat combined heavy armor, powerful weapons, and excellent carrier landing performance. Unlike earlier US fighters, it could absorb damage and still bring pilots home safely. Armed with 650 caliber machine guns, the Hellcat shredded enemy aircraft at close and medium range. It became the most successful naval fighter of World War II, accounting for more than 5,000 enemy kills. Flying from US Navy carriers, Hellcats dominated battles like the Philippine Sea, earning it the nickname the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. The Vought F4U Corsair was instantly recognizable due to its inverted gull wings and massive propeller. Originally difficult to land on carriers, it later became one of the deadliest naval fighters ever built. Powered by a massive radial engine, the Corsair was faster than most Japanese fighters and heavily armed with 650 caliber machine guns. It excelled as both a fighter and ground attack aircraft, destroying enemy planes, ships, and ground targets. The Corsair achieved an impressive kill ratio and continued serving well after World War II, proving its legendary design. The Supermarine Seafire was the Royal Navy's answer to the need for a high-performance, carrier-based fighter during World War II. It was developed directly from the legendary Spitfire, one of the most iconic aircraft of the war. While the Spitfire dominated the skies over Europe, adapting it for naval operations was far from simple. Aircraft carriers demanded strong landing gear, folding wings, and reinforced structures, areas where the original Spitfire design struggled. Despite these challenges, the Seafire retained exceptional speed, climb rate, and maneuverability, making it one of the fastest naval fighters of its time. In combat, Seafire pilots were able to intercept enemy aircraft with deadly precision, especially during late war operations in the Mediterranean and Pacific. However, its short range and fragile undercarriage limited its effectiveness on long carrier missions. Even with these flaws, the Seafire played a crucial role in fleet air defense and proved that elite land-based fighters could be adapted for naval warfare. The Grumman F4F Wildcat was the aircraft that kept the US Navy alive during the most dangerous phase of the Pacific War. When World War II began, the Wildcat faced the highly maneuverable Japanese Zero, an aircraft that outclassed it in speed and agility, but the Wildcat had strengths the Zero lacked: durability, firepower, and survivability. Built like a flying tank, it could absorb heavy damage and still return safely to its carrier. Armed with 4 to 650 caliber machine guns, it packed serious firepower for close-range combat. American pilots quickly learned that survival depended on tactics rather than turning ability, leading to innovations like the Thuck Weave, which allowed Wildcats to defeat more agile opponents. The Wildcat fought bravely at battles such as Coral Sea, Midway, and Guadalcanal, holding the line until more advanced fighters arrived. Though eventually replaced, its contribution to naval aviation was absolutely vital. The Ferry Fulmar was a unique naval fighter designed with a very specific mission in mind: long-range fleet defense. Unlike most fighters of its era, the Fulmar featured a two-seat cockpit, allowing a pilot and navigator to operate together during extended patrol missions over open ocean. While it lacked the speed and agility of single-seat fighters, the Fulmar made up for it with range, stability, and heavy armament. Equipped with 8 forward-firing machine guns, it delivered powerful bursts of fire against enemy bombers and reconnaissance aircraft. The Fulmar saw extensive service with the Royal Navy in the Mediterranean, where it successfully defended British fleets against Italian and German air attacks. Though it was eventually outclassed by faster enemy fighters, the Fulmar fulfilled its role effectively during the early years of the war and helped protect vital naval operations when Britain needed it most. The Nakajima A-5M, known to the Allies as Claude, was a revolutionary aircraft that marked a turning point in naval aviation. Entering service in the late 1930s, it became the world's first monoplane fighter to operate regularly from aircraft carriers. At a time when many nations still relied on biplanes, the A-5M introduced speed, sleek design, and modern performance to naval air combat. Built for agility and climb rate, it allowed Japanese pilots to dominate the skies over China before World War II officially began. Though lightly armed with machine guns, its maneuverability made it deadly in the hands of experienced pilots. As the war expanded into the Pacific, the A-5M was quickly replaced by the more advanced A-6M0. However, its influence was enormous. It laid the technological foundation for Japan's early air superiority and shaped naval fighter design across the world. The Brewster F-2A Buffalo remains one of the most controversial naval fighters of World War II. Designed as one of the U.S. Navy's first monoplane carrier fighters, it represented a major technological leap forward at the time of its introduction. In theory, the Buffalo offered modern features such as an enclosed cockpit, retractable landing gear, and improved firepower. However, as the war progressed, its limitations became increasingly obvious. Overweight, underpowered, and difficult to maneuver in combat, the Buffalo struggled against more advanced enemy fighters, particularly in the Pacific. Despite its flaws, the aircraft still served bravely with American, British, and Finnish forces. In the hands of skilled pilots, especially in Northern Europe, it achieved surprising success. The Buffalo's story serves as a powerful reminder that technology alone does not determine victory. Tactics, training, and conditions matter just as much. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 Trillions was Germany's attempt to bring its most famous fighter into the world of carrier-based aviation. Developed as a naval variant of the legendary Bf 109, the T version featured extended wings, reinforced landing gear, and an arrestor hook designed for carrier landings. These modifications were intended to allow the aircraft to operate from Germany's planned aircraft carriers, such as the Graf Zeppelin. However, those carriers were never completed, and the Bf 109 Trillions never saw true naval combat at sea. Instead, the aircraft was reassigned to land-based roles in Northern Europe, where its carrier modifications gave it excellent short takeoff and landing performance. Although it never fulfilled its original purpose, the Bf 109 Trillions remains a fascinating example of unrealized naval air power and a glimpse into what German carrier aviation might have looked like during World War II. The Aichi D-3A, known by the Allied codename Val, was one of the most effective carrier-based aircraft used by Japan during World War II. Although primarily classified as a dive bomber, the D-3A played a critical role in naval air combat and frequently faced enemy fighters during major carrier battles. It was responsible for sinking more Allied warships than any other Axis aircraft, including numerous cruisers and destroyers during the opening phase of the Pacific War. The D-3 combined excellent low-speed handling with remarkable accuracy in dive-bombing attacks, making it especially dangerous against naval targets. While lightly armed and vulnerable to modern fighters, its reliability and ease of maintenance kept it in frontline service for much of the war. As Japan's industrial capacity declined, the D-3A continued flying missions well past its expected service life, proving how vital it was to Japanese carrier operations. The Hawker Sea Hurricane was a naval adaptation of one of Britain's most important land-based fighters. As the Royal Navy urgently needed carrier fighters early in the war, the Hurricane was modified with naval equipment such as arrestor hooks and strengthened landing gear. Though not originally designed for carrier operations, the Sea Hurricane proved surprisingly effective in fleet defense roles. It was deployed from both aircraft carriers and catapult-equipped merchant ships, allowing British convoys to defend themselves against enemy bombers far out at sea. Armed with multiple machine guns and capable of engaging both aircraft and surface targets, the Sea Hurricane became a crucial stopgap solution until more advanced naval fighters entered service. Its presence saved countless ships from air attack and demonstrated how adaptability could turn an existing design into a naval asset. The Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver was one of the most heavily criticized yet widely used carrier aircraft of World War II. Designed as a dive bomber, it replaced the aging SBD Dauntless and became the primary strike aircraft of the US Navy during the latter half of the war. Early versions of the Helldiver suffered from serious design flaws, including poor handling and structural issues, earning it an infamous reputation among pilots. However, continuous improvements transformed it into a powerful and effective combat aircraft. With greater speed, heavier bomb loads, and improved survivability, the Helldiver played a key role in destroying Japanese shipping, airfields, and fortified positions. Despite its troubled development, it became a major contributor to Allied naval victory in the Pacific and stands as a reminder that even flawed machines can shape history when refined under pressure.